Today, we're tackling what is honestly the absolute biggest mistake people make in business, in decision-making, and in life, literally everywhere. It's turning a one-time lucky win into a permanent, foolproof formula. It is a massive psychological trap, and so many of us fall right into it. So we're going to break down exactly why it happens, and more importantly, how you can avoid it using 3 crucial rules.
To understand why this is so dangerous, let's look at part 1, the donkey and the river.
All right, so the story starts with a donkey, and this donkey was given a pretty routine task: carry 2 massive, heavy sacks of salt across a rushing river. But midway across the water, disaster strikes. You know how it goes: wet stones, clumsy hooves. The donkey loses its footing, slips, and plunges right into the river. It was a total accident, a complete failure of execution on the journey.
But then, when the donkey finally manages to, scramble back up onto its feet, something miraculous happens. That heavy, agonizing load weighing it down, it suddenly felt incredibly light. The burden had basically vanished entirely. Why? Well, because the salt had naturally dissolved in the water.
Now, right here is where we hit the fatal flaw. Instead of seeing this event as pure chance, a lucky break caused by a clumsy accident, the donkey actually formulates a permanent strategy. It literally thinks to itself, so this is the trick. Just fall into the river. It took an accidental win, a total fluke, and convinced itself it had discovered some brilliant new system.
Which brings us to part 2, the cotton catastrophe. Let's look at the donkey's very next trip.
So our donkey approaches the exact same river armed with that exact same strategy, except this time it's carrying 2 sacks of cotton. Now the donkey completely failed to recognize the differing physical properties of its cargo. Obviously, right? Salt dissolves in water. It naturally lightens the load. But cotton? Cotton acts like a giant sponge. It absorbs water, making the load immensely heavier. But our donkey, completely believing it had this foolproof, battle-tested system from its past experience, intentionally throws itself into the river. It literally jumped in on purpose. And because that cotton absorbed all that water, the load became heavier than ever before. The massive weight pulled the donkey under so violently that it couldn't even stand back up. A total catastrophe.
So what does this all mean for us? Well, this fable perfectly sets up the 3 rules of real-world thinking. Starting with rule 1, skill versus luck. You see, the donkey's initial success came entirely from the nature of the salt, its inherent chemical property to dissolve. It had absolutely nothing to do with the donkey's deliberate action of slipping. And the takeaway here is vital. If you don't genuinely understand why you won in the first place, you're highly, highly likely to lose the next time around. Confusing a lucky break for personal skill? Yeah, that is a direct recipe for disaster.
All right, moving right along to rule 2, copy-paste thinking.
Copy-paste thinking is the super common mental shortcut. We see it in the corporate world all the time, and definitely in our personal lives too. It's basically blindly taking a method that perfectly fit one specific environment and expecting it to work flawlessly in a totally different one, without actually checking the material. Because here's the thing, the environment dictates the success of your action. What worked last year might completely fail this year simply because the context shifted, the ground moved beneath your feet. You've always got to check the specific material you are working with, your current situation, your team, your exact resources, before you just blindly apply an old method.
And that leads us perfectly into rule 3, outdated experience.
We've all heard the saying, experience is a massive asset. And look, usually it is, but unupdated experience, that actually morphs into a major liability when the game changes around you. If your experience is rigidly locked into old conditions, relying on it is literally just like jumping into a rushing river strapped with sacks of cotton.
So if there's one single sentence you remember from this entire explainer, I really want it to be this one. Never turn a temporary fix into a permanent system without reviewing the new variables. Let me just repeat that for emphasis. A temporary fix is not a permanent system. An accidental success is exactly that, temporary, until you've actually stress tested the variables.
Which brings us to the final point, your river of opportunity.
I want you to think about how you are approaching your own metaphorical river right now. Before you jump into that next big project, or make your next big investment, or even finalize some major life decision, evaluate your strategy. Make absolutely sure you aren't confusing a lucky break from your past with a permanent formula for your future.
Ask yourself right now, are you carrying salt that will naturally lighten your load, or cotton that's going to pull you under? Keep your experience updated. Check your materials.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was very useful to you. And once again, if you have any comment or question, just feel free to type it in the comment section. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I wish you all the best.